It's Dee from CatalystEnergies. Thanks for joining me. I'm so grateful that you're here. This is the post-solstice pre-eclipse report. It's going to span December 22nd and 23rd of 2019. And we are in this tunnel. It feels like we're in a tunnel between the solstice and the solar eclipse, which is a new moon in Capricorn, which happens on Christmas night or the 26th, depending on where you are in the world. So just a few days from now. And it seems like we've done a lot of work already. And with the moon transiting Scorpio today, it also feels like the work is definitely not done. I know I feel exceptionally tired and wiped out just from the last couple of days of buildup of energy and gathering with people last night. It was great to honor the light coming back, and that's something that we should definitely keep focusing on probably. But you can feel the density and you could feel the draw inward to go very deep, and this I think is really having an impact on us physically. So my brain is not totally here, so if I trail off or get lost, just know that that's where it is. But I am going to give this report because I think it's really important. So let's share the chart for today. All right, and so the main aspect of coming out of this solstice, where we are focusing on the return of the light and celebrating the return of the light, we also have a moon in Scorpio today that's going to be conjuncting with Mars in Scorpio, and both of these points sextiling definitely Pluto. Mars is going to sextile Pluto, and the moon is going to sextile Pluto and Saturn today. So could be a lot of frustration, but this is also potentially very empowering depending on how we harness this energy. There are some harmonious aspects with Neptune trining the moon as well today. Neptune and Pisces trining the moon. And it depends on how these aspects are represented in your own chart. They're not themselves good or bad, but they can be inspiring or disrupting depending on the relationship you have with them. If we're willing to take the ride right now emotionally with the moon in Scorpio that's been taking us through this dark tunnel at the darkest time of the year, no less, the harmony with Neptune and Pisces, this trine here, could really connect with inspiration, creativity, give us a connection to source through our community, through gathering together. This is a very harmonious and creatively inspired placement if we are able to harness that with where we're going in this inner journey into Scorpio. It could be a really encouraging, beautiful, loving connection with Neptune and Pisces. However, if you're resisting that dark tunnel, or even worse, identifying it, this could just be drowning in illusion and delusion. Neptune is the fog machine, and it's going to get turned up to 11 if we are not, if we're not taking power in an inappropriate, if we are not taking power in an inappropriate way with this moon in Scorpio, because that's always the issue too, is becoming obsessed with power and feeling powerful within ourselves. So this connection could really, although it's a balanced connection, depending on how the energies are playing out, this could be alcoholism, drug use could be going up. This is also like mass suicide with the moon in Scorpio, trining Neptune and Pisces. This is like the ultimate escapism aspect. So drug and alcohol use, overdoses, mass exits, untimely deaths, suicides, that kind of thing. We can find ourselves dissolving into that dark place and identifying with it if we are not, I think if we're not taking, the Mars energy that's going to be conjuncting here, which is our superhero. And Mars has been in Scorpio for a while now, since the end of November. And so the last time the moon came around to line up with Scorpio, it was in much earlier stages of Scorpio, just kind of getting the hang of inner investigation. But now we're coming into the later degrees of Scorpio, where Mars is much more willing to, you know, be courageous and confident because he's been here for a long time. And so the moon then coming here can either supercharge us in a good way, or it could make us even more obsessive over gaining power. And you could see that playing out, this split playing out. This could be empowering. This could take your power back, right? To balance the scales of power, or this could be a grab for power as opposed to empowerment. So what's going on there will really impact how this Neptune's gonna like balance it out. Is it gonna connect you to source and to love and to universal love, or is it going to thicken the delusion about your grab for power? That's very fascinating. So, but also too, it could lead to escapism, mass escapism. And with Mars here too in Scorpio, that could be very initiatory for something that's not necessarily a great ending. So it could go many ways, and it could be very devastating, or it could be very empowering. There's sextiles to Saturn and Pluto today. Mars having that sextile to Pluto, what ultimately needs to die, what needs to be let go of, what needs to be composted. This could, again, be very initiatory and allow us the courage to really let go of those things that do need to die. Or this could be a lot of frustration about, because Pluto takes away whether we want to or not. It has nothing to do with us as an individual. Mars is about us as an individual, our ego, our initiatory action, survival in some ways. Pluto is beyond that. These are the cycles of nature itself, death and rebirth. So we could be very frustrated of what is dissolving and crumbling away if we're misaligned with this energy and wanting to take power. Also Saturn here, the sextile between the moon and Saturn. This could be showing us where we need to step up and take responsibility. Especially when it comes to this inner journey, like what it is that we're responsible for, we're being responsible for our karma, being responsible for our shadow and what that creates. That could be very encouraging and giving us some like form and like stability around what we're coming up with when it comes to taking that inner journey into the shadow. So Venus was in an exact square. Venus here in Aquarius now. Venus was in an exact square earlier today with Uranus in Taurus. They are in each other's home sign right now. So Venus is in Aquarius and Uranus is Taurus, and this is called a mutual reception. Usually this is when the opposing or corresponding signs are supporting each other because they're magnifying the energy of the other one. But Uranus is definitely not very powerful in Taurus. So it appears that Venus in Aquarius is going to support the expression of Uranus in Taurus, but not so much the other way around. So the intellectual crisis or the defeat that we experienced when Venus went into Aquarius could really catalyze a push toward real freedom in our relationships and in the way we harmonize with what the world around us. Venus may be in a challenging aspect to Uranus in a square, but this challenge is definitely worth accepting in this case. If we can really see where the restriction is coming from, there can be some real resolution with the way that Uranus and Taurus has shifted our lives, like the actual details and physical manifestation of our lives. That aspect is challenging, but is a lot of growth can really come from that if we're willing to take on that challenge. So this energy is really worth holding on to as we move into the 23rd. There we go. The 23rd. So this energy is definitely worth holding on to, because as we move closer to the eclipse, the new moon eclipse, right? the sun is going to make a trine, or a square, sorry. It's definitely a different thing. Is going to make a square to Chiron in Aries. So now that the sun here is in Capricorn, it's going to be squaring Chiron in Aries. The sun is starting to illuminate what we can actually build, and it's infusing us with the solar energy to get it done. You know, we're still at the beginning stages, but we're really being, we're really being supported with this. Chiron in Aries is all continuing to seem to me like the tantruming child. So there's definitely a feeling of tension between the energy of like, okay, this is getting down to brass tacks. What are we going to do? How are we going to express this energy? And then a tantruming child. This is definitely a challenge to get past. And the tantruming child is our inner self. And so, it's screaming a little bit louder because the sun now has moved into a sign that's like, okay, it's time to start doing things now. And it's like, no, what about me? Pay attention to me. I need to be dealt with, which is absolutely true. But we also may feel like, okay, I really want to move forward. I want to get stuff done. So giving ourselves, acknowledging this inner tantruming child in order to maybe move forward with this. Shortly after the moon comes into Sagittarius. Where are we at here? Yep, so we have 0, this is for noon Eastern Standard Time on the 23rd. The moon, 0 degrees, Sagittarius. The optimism is being like the light at the end of the tunnel we've been walking through. And the other thing is that we are then approaching a balsamic moon, which is a dark moon. It's the last couple of days, essentially, before the new moon. So there isn't necessarily a lot to work with in terms of belief and optimism because the moon just keeps getting darker and darker and darker. Yet we have something to hang on to as the moon trines with Chiron after it's squared with the sun. The same energy that was squaring the sun just a few hours prior. With Chiron, there are certainly strengths to be acknowledged, and he himself was a centaur, which is a symbol that often represents Sagittarius. There's magic associated with that psychic moon in the sign of the alchemist. The alchemist is taking what it's come to understand and using its psychic connection to really get inspiration about how to actually transmute this energy. Sag is mutable fire, so I envision it like the coal fire, the coals that are ready to be stoked at any time to build a flame again. And the moon here is starting that fire for transmutation within us based on all this shit we've dug up, investigated, and learned from taking this dark inner journey. The trine to Chiron feels like the psychic alchemy could support the shedding of that wound, or at least take the tantrum energy and use it as transmutation. The moon is in conjunct or quincunx right here with Uranus and Taurus, suggesting that our belief systems or our judgments are no match for the actual disruptive shifts in our physical and reality and security. We might believe something about a situation, but at the same, that has nothing to do with what's actually been changing. This can be very disruptive for people and cause a need for considerable readjustment of a belief system and judgments, especially about ourselves. Uranus has really been struggling being in an undignified position with stable and dense Taurus for so long, especially with the retrograde bringing it even more to our attention. These changes we've been experiencing may feel like they're out of control, but remember that Uranus is about the collective third eye and the collective experience. So the changes are surely in line with a higher collective agreement, although they may not line up at all with what you believe to be true about what you need and what you want to feel secure, because that is the moon, is our inner security. When it comes to what we believe about what we need to feel safe and secure, it will be highlighted even more with another quincunx to the North Node from in Cancer, the moon quincunxing the North Node. Our collective destiny point, the North Node, has been consistently drawing us toward the reality of the need for nurturing and holding space for ourselves and others. The moon really does gravitate towards Cancer, though, and it may not necessarily line up with what we believe about ourselves, knowing that these placements are in relation, knowing where these placements are in relation to your natal chart can bring more clarity to how these aspects play out for you as an individual and as a personality, a unique personality. The astrology charts are like fingerprints. They're unique and they can be used to identify you as that unique person. So the moon is getting darker as we keep walking through this tunnel toward the new moon solar eclipse. So the solar eclipse is when the light is blocked. The light is blocked by the moon, the shadow of the moon passing between the earth and the sun. So in a total solar eclipse, the entire sun is darkened, and we experienced that in 2017 here in the US. So this is called an annular solar eclipse, and so what happens is not a total solar eclipse, and so there will be a ring of fire around the shape of the moon of the sun. And I mean, I feel like this is really giving us some inspiration. It's a ring of hope. It's a ring of fire that we can, it's like a, you know, it's like a hoop that we can hang on to. We're being given so many opportunities right now to keep doing this inner work and to get the most that we can out of it in order to like take it and transmute it into something, into stepping into more of our own power. And there are gifts all around us constantly. And so when the new moon comes and we start setting intentions for the next lunar cycle and the next year and the next decade, we can really base them off of the work that we're willing to, you know, step inside and do. And we have been doing for right now, for a while now. And, you know, for a long time, for some of us, it might have been years, you know, probably for me, it's been like, dude, since 2015 really is like when it really kicked into gear. So don't be afraid to go. You don't even need to go into those dark spaces. You've already been going there. Don't be afraid to start letting them go. That's what's happening now, is like the letting go part of all of the things that we discovered we don't really want or need, and transmuting them into something else. So this is, I think I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to come back with a new moon and a solar eclipse report and another Akashic Tarot reading within the next couple days. And that'll span the 24th through the 26th. And after that, I'm going to release a video about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in the first part of January, because there's a lot of things going on there. Please reach out to me if you're interested in a reading or support astrologically or energetically at all. I have an offer going on that you can access through the Facebook page. It's 33% off all of my services. And all of the information you need about how to get a hold of me is in the description box below this video. And thanks for joining me. And I really appreciate you being on this journey with me. And I will see you on the next video. Take care of yourselves and each other.